and welcome back to my channel. I hope you didn't get lost on your way here. As I already mentioned, I talk a lot about Disney and just as much about Disney movies.
What?
Luckily, Disney released a full list of Disney classics, so today we're starting with the very first Disney movie and we work our way up to the latest one. So grab some popcorn, sit back and let's dive. Disney Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is from 1937 and has a running time of 83 minutes. It was supervised by Danny Hand and was directed by 5 sequence directors: Pierce Paris, William Cottle, Larry Murray, Wilfred Jackson and Ben Sharpstein. Music was composed by Leif Holland, Paul J. Smith and Frank Churchill. Remember this name. Snow White had a budget for $1.5 million and the box office was $418 million. The movie was based on the 1812 German fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, and it was the first animated feature film produced in the United States and the first CEL animated feature film. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is about the evil queen who is envious of Snow White's beauty and orders to kill her. Snow White escapes into the forest and refuge in the home of the 7 kind dwarfs. As the queen continues her pursuit, Snow White falls victim to a poisoned apple. Only the kiss of a true love can awaken her. Disney used the multiplane camera for the first time, creating a sense of depth by animating foreground, midground and background separately. That was groundbreaking at the time. The pacing is gentle and clear, with humorous well-timed scenes like the dwarfs' hey-ho march balancing darker moments. The score composed by Frank Churchill and the Caroline iconic songs like Hey Ho and Someday My Prince Will Come.
Someday we'll meet again.
The latter of which became a jazz standard. The transformation of Queen into a witch and the eerie forest sequence shows of Disney ambitious use of light, shadow and character design. Adriana Caselotti, who voiced Snow White, brings innocent and charm perfectly fitting for the character's naive but kind-hearted nature. Lucille Laverne, who voiced the Queen, aka the Witch, her vocal range at fear and menace. The dwarfs, each of their voices reflects their personality, for example grumpy, sleepy or dumpy, adding humor and emotional warmth. Let's take a deep dive into the characters, even though there isn't much character development. But there is one particular little guy I want to talk about, and that's Grumpy, because he changed completely. At first he hated Snow White, or woman, isn't that the right word?
And old sourpuss here is Grumpy, the woman hater.
But throughout the movie, he started liking her and he was the first one who started wanting to save her. And he cried. That's what makes this powerful, shows us how important it is to not to judge too quickly. We do it more often than we think. So let's remember, never judge a book by its cover.
Boring, dull, stupid, lame, heavy-handed, and derivative.
It's fun fact time. Yep, a totally new category. I just invented it. And no, I didn't even do it in German before. Like I said at the beginning, Snow White was the very first full-length animated movie in color with synchronized sound. Back then people called it Disney's Folly because they didn't believe anyone would see a whole animated film. Well, to that I say take that. My bad. That was the remake. No, take that. The film took over 3 years to make. More than 750 artists worked on it and created over 2 million drawings. Walt Disney received a special Oscar for the film, 1 large statue and 7 miniature ones. And by the way, the dwarfs in the original Grimm fairy tale, the dwarfs didn't even have names. And Duppy was supposed to talk, but the animators fell in love with him as a side character, and honestly, the same. Isn't that right, Duppy? And you know how Adriana got her role as Snow White. At the time, she was 18 years old and had no major acting experience. Her father was a vocal coach, and one day a Disney casting director called him looking for a voice that sounded young and sweet. Adriana overheard Paul, jumped in and started singing in the background. They invented her and fell in love with her voice, and just like that, she became our Snow White.
I'm wishing for the one I love.
Now it's time for my favorite part of my reviews. I can talk about my favorite moments. I have quite a few. That's why we start at the very beginning. I love the opening with a book. When Walt was alive, we often have that. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Pinocchio, just named a few. Kind of it's like Walt will tell the story himself. In the German version, we have a narrator who reads the beginning.
Es war einmal eine liebliche kleine Prinzessin, Schneewittchen genannt.
And the feeling is stronger. So Walt was and still is telling me the story of Snow White, and I just love it. Okay, I would love more if Walt really would do that.
Once upon a time, there lived a lovely little princess named Snow White.
Anyway, what I also loved and still love is the humor in the movie, especially Duppy. I just love him. As well with the toe. I also love the song One Song.
One song only for me.
Back then I would kind of wish that my future boyfriend would sing that song to me. What I love about all Disney movies is that you can watch it several times, and every time you notice something new. For example, when the dwarf are going home, we have two lights, and the lights look like car lights. But although I've been watching this movie since I was little, I didn't notice until 1 or 2 years ago. In the scene we have the text on the screen when Noah is dead. There's a chorus singing someday when spring's here, and we see the trees born. Again, spring's here. I never made the connection. Now it's time for the critics. And more, one major criticism also brought up by Rachel Zegler, so I let her speak for herself.
And what a woman is fit for in the world. And so,
But honestly, I see things differently, because to me, Snow White wrong. She grew up with a stepmother who hated her, who mistreated her every single day. And I mean, her stepmother literally wanted to kill her. And still, Snow White grew up kind. She stayed optimistic, and that's what makes her strong. She doesn't need a sword or a fight to prove her strength. Her strength is in her heart, and people see that. If I had to agree on one thing, yes, maybe she is a little too naive, but that doesn't make her weak, makes her human. So what can I say except you're welcome. I loved this movie since I was a little girl. You can really feel how much love and effort went into it. It totally deserved the Oscar. The soundtrack is all a 10 out of 10. When I talk about as Mickey Mouse, I have to do a few things differently as the German version. Anyway, how many Mickey Mouse does this one get? 5 out of 5 Mickeys. And the soundtrack gets 5 too. I just love it. And I hope you liked it too. If you did, feel free to like this video. And if you love Disney or me, you can subscribe to my channel. Maybe I try something new here. I ask you three fun questions, and you can answer them in the comments below. First question: do you like Snow White? Second question: how old was Adriana Caselotti when she got her as Snow White? Didn't expect trivia question. And the third question: what are the names of the 7 dwarfs? Something I only half mentioned. we'll see each other again very soon. But if you already miss me, you can follow me on Instagram. Or even better, check out my last video where I talk about my favorite Disney movies. And if I had enough for me for the day, I understand. Well, let's just say bye.